So you think you're just gonna hop on YouTube, watch a couple videos, watch this video, and learn how to drive a manual transmission? Well, guess what? It's actually pretty easy, and I'm gonna help you do it. Yeah, you can do it. It's not hard. We'll do it together. So maybe you just bought a manual and you're not really sure how to drive it. Maybe you're thinking about buying a manual transmission and need a little help. Maybe you don't even have a car. Or maybe you just found this video on YouTube and it's 3 in the morning and you're like, why am I watching this video? In any case, I'm going to break this down for you easiest possible way I can. Now, I've been driving a standard transmission, standard meaning manual transmission meaning stick shift. I use those 3 interchangeably. Don't let that confuse you. So yeah, my first car was a standard transmission, and I've been driving a manual for about 20 years now. Everyone learns a little differently, and I hope to cover each way that'll help someone watching this learn and feel comfortable on the road. That's my goal today, is to get you watching this comfortable in a standard transmission car on the highway or side street or parking lot or wherever. This video is going to be in depth, so don't just quit. Things going to be a quick watch and you're going to be proficient in 10 minutes. I'm going to break it down into 3 segments and make sure you're really comfortable when you start driving. So we're going to do intro to manual transmission, the theory behind it. Secondly, a practical. I'll take you out in my Mini Cooper and show you how to actually drive a stick, POV style. And lastly, anxieties you might run into and real world problems, issues you might run into driving a stick. You're not alone in having fears or anxieties about driving a standard transmission. It can be scary, especially if you're just starting to drive and drive a standard transmission. It can be scary, but I'm gonna help you guys. Alright, so first off, the theory of a manual transmission, how it works, why it works, and an overall basic understanding of what you're doing versus an automatic transmission. Now, in an automatic transmission, there's a little computer inside the transmission. Typically, your automatic transmission will be much larger than a standard because you have more stuff. I'm not going to make this too technical with the ratios and stuff, but you have a lot going on in there. And the computer has to decide how much throttle you're giving a car in reference to how much strain you're putting on the motor, reference to its revolutions per minute torque band. Long story short, automatic figures all that out for you, and a standard is kind of your job to understand when to shift gears. Typically, nowadays, you're going to have 6 gears in a car for a standard transmission. The one behind me has 6 gears, my Mini Cooper has 6, some have 5. I think the only 7-speed manual on the market is the C7 Corvette, so don't even worry about that. There are a few 4-speeds still out there you might see, but typically you're going to see 6, maybe a 5-speed. Automatics tend to have a little more these days. Back in the day that wasn't the case, but as technology got better, they were able to package more into a small space, and now you can have upwards of 10 plus gears in an automatic. So yeah, we're just going to focus on a manual, and assuming you have a 6-speed. So the idea is you're the computer. You are the automatic transmission when you drive a standard transmission. You got a 3rd pedal on the very left, that is your clutch, and you have gear select, but it's up to you to put it in the appropriate gear for the appropriate speed and direction, reverse. Alright, so that funny little pedal on the left, that's your clutch. It has one job, to disengage your clutch plate from your drivetrain, meaning it stops power delivery from your motor to the rear wheels momentarily. You can shift gears safely. So when you depress the pedal on the left side, meaning you put it to the floor, you're disengaging your drivetrain from the motor. You will use the clutch for every gear change, and when you start the car and when you come to a stop, you will use the clutch pedal. You will use it in conjunction with your accelerator, not so much your brake. Your brake is always there, you can always use a brake, but your clutch and your gas kind of work in tandem. Whatever one's doing, the other one's doing kind of the opposite. When you're pushing the clutch in, you're gonna be removing your foot off the accelerator, and vice versa. When you're gonna give it gas, you're gonna let up on the clutch and let it engage. And we will get more on that when we're in the car, but the basic understanding of the clutch is that it disengages your drivetrain from your motor to your wheels. to allow you to shift gears to whatever gear you need to be in. You cannot start the car unless the clutch is in and your gear select is in neutral. It doesn't have to be in neutral, but it's a really good rule of thumb. When you start a car with a standard transmission, left foot all the way down the clutch, right foot on the brake, gear select in the middle, give it a wobble. That's a good starting point. So, on the gear select itself, you're going to have gates. I'll put a graphic here to show you what I mean by gates. Now study that. That's going to show you exactly how you're going to move through the gears on any manual transmission. It doesn't matter if you're 4, 5, 6, or 7 speed. It's going to be the same direction each time, just adding a couple more on the tail end. What is different on every car is the location of the reverse gear. Some is all the way over to the left and up. Some is all the way over to the right and down, right and up, push down, pull back. It'll show you on the gear select how to get there. Now don't worry about accidentally going into reverse while you're moving. Newer cars from 1995 and up have interlocks where you cannot put the car when it's in motion in reverse, so don't worry about that. Unless you have an old jalopy, then worry about that and be very cognizant of where you're shifting, but you should be okay. So a quick recap so far. You have a little wobbly stick, which is your drive select. You got a clutch. Those are the two main differences in a standard transmission car. To start the car, clutch must be in. Put your right foot on the brake, wobble wobble, start the car. The car is now started. Now depending on where you're trying to go, you're trying to back up, you're trying to go forward. Let's assume you parallel parked and we're trying to go forward, okay? So clutch is still gonna be in, foot on the brake, your right foot on the brake. And in case I didn't mention it, your left foot when driving a standard transmission is only for the clutch. Your right foot is for accelerator and braking, left foot, clutch. Whatever the clutch is doing, the accelerator will be doing the exact opposite, for the most part. So here we go. We get in the car, foot on the clutch, right foot on the brake, wobble wobble, start the car is started. Typically you're gonna have an e-brake, because you don't have a park position, but you can't leave it in first. But we'll get to that later. So, e-brake off, car in first. That's your setting off gear. So car is in first. We're going to lift our left foot from the clutch, allowing flywheel to meet your clutch ever so slowly. Finesse is key with driving a standard transmission. Your flywheel is spinning and your clutch is kind of stationary until you release it, and when you're releasing it, you're actually engaging it with the flywheel. So it's going to slowly engage your flywheel, start turning, and at the same time you're releasing, you're giving it a little throttle. If you don't give it throttle, you're going to stall your car. You don't have a high enough torque band, and it's going to stall. Typically your car idles at about 800 RPM, and unless you have a lot of torque in a car, you're going to stall it. So, first gear, foot's in, we're trying to go forward. We're going to slowly lift up our left foot while slowly depressing the accelerator. When you first start doing this, you're going to get a lot of bucking like this. That's normal. For about a couple days, you're going to get that until you get it down just right. And when you have everything flowing in motion, it's kind of like poetry. That sounds corny, but it's true. So you're going to start feeling the clutch start to catch. You're going to give it a little throttle. All this while being very calm, because I know all my viewers are very calm, cool, and collected. And the car is going to start traveling forward. And it's going to be really exciting. Like you're doing it until your foot's all the way off the clutch. And you're just easing into the accelerator, not speeding, you're just doing your thing. When you see your tachometer reach roughly 2,500 RPM, it is safe to go into second gear. Now, how do you go into second gear? Kind of the same way you went into first. You're going to press in the clutch, lift off the accelerator, put it in the second gear, and do the same thing. Second gear is much easier to catch than first. You have a much less chance of stalling, but you still can. And then you're going to do the same thing. And again, I'm teaching this from a non-racing perspective, just leisurely driving, like a grandma, how to drive a standard. And we're going to shift between 20 and 2,500 RPM through this entire learning video. So you're in second, you're engaged, you're cruising, you're going. You're reaching about 2,500 RPM, you're at about 35 miles an hour. Same thing, you're going to press in your clutch, take your foot off the gas, put it into third, and again, up on the clutch, down on the gas, catch, and you're good. You're doing your thing. So you're cruising along now in third gear. Uh-oh, stop sign, red light. You gotta stop, right? Now, you have two options here. It can be kind of confusing and kind of tricky, and I'm not trying to confuse you. If you're just starting to drive standard, I recommend putting your clutch in, putting it in neutral, and just riding it to the stop sign or stop light by simply applying the brake, just like you're driving an automatic transmission. You come to a stop, you put it back in first, and repeat. You're gonna start over again. Now, it might sound very monotonous, like, oh my God, this is so much work to drive a stick. Why would anyone want to do this? I've been driving a stick so long, I don't even think about it. I can text and drive, I can eat and drive, you name it, I can do it. I don't drink and drive. But I'm able to multitask while driving a stick. I don't even think about it. And within probably a month or two of driving, once you get proficient, you won't even think about it. I guarantee it. It might sound overwhelming. It's not. It's not the end of the world. This isn't the hardest thing. So don't worry about that. So, you stopped again, you gotta start again, and when you're stopped, what do? Your clutch is in. Very good. Wobble wobble, clutch in, right foot on the brake, light turns green. Put it in first, slowly let up on the clutch, slowly give a little gas till it catches, and you're off. Gotta shift to second, no big deal. Clutch in, up on the throttle, second gear, up on the clutch, a little bit of gas, you're in second. And that's assuming you do that all the way to highway speeds and you're cruising along. Cruising along, doing 65 in fifth gear, and you want to pass someone. You have two options. You can slam on the gas in gear. Let's say you're in sixth gear doing 60 miles an hour. You're not going to go too quick, but you will slowly accelerate, but probably not on-ramp speeds you're looking for or passing speeds. This is what you would call a tactical downshift. I made that term up right now. Pretty much it allows you to pass someone quickly and with effort. So let's say you're cruising at 60 miles an hour in sixth gear. You want to get around someone. If you mash the gas, it'll slowly creep. You can get around. But if let's say you want to really get around someone, you go to sixth, clutch in, up on the throttle, fourth gear, and then go into gear. You'll notice a huge increase in your torque band, and that'll allow you to get zippy around a car or onto an off-ramp. Either or, and then once you're comfortable at your speed, go ahead and put it back in the fifth, sixth gear, then you're cruising again. So I'm not trying to overwhelm you right now with basic understanding of how it works. I think I've covered all the basics on how to start, operate, and go. One more thing I do want to touch on before we got to the car and start driving is reverse. Reverse is a special gear. It's a very tall gear, meaning you got a lot of torque. Most cars you can't go more than 15 miles an hour in reverse. There's no need to. But when you're driving a standard and you're going reverse, this is one time where you'll never take your foot off the gas. If anything, you're just going to release the clutch and never actually take your foot all the way off it. So you're going to put in reverse, look behind you, backup camera, foot up off the clutch, not all the way, a little bit of gas, and then you'll move just enough to do what you got to do, 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. So I've never been in a scenario where I've fully had to take my foot off the clutch in reverse and mash the gas. It's never going to happen. Slow and steady wins the race in reverse. So in reverse is kind of special to where keep your foot kind of on the clutch at all times and on the throttle just a little bit, and you're going to be okay. Every car is a little different, but that's a good rule of thumb. So I think you guys have a good starting point. So let's go out to the car. I'll go for a little ride, POV, and all the stuff I just explained, we'll do it in real time. All right, I'm here at my local abandoned mall. Thank you, abandoned mall. There are some people over there at Target, but for the most part, it's pretty much vacant. So, car is off. I'm in a Mini Cooper. If you have access to a Mini Cooper, I definitely recommend it as a car to learn standard transmission on. super easy to drive, probably one of the easiest clutches I've ever used. Quick little familiarization here. This is your stick, or your shift knob, your gear lever, whatever you want to call it. If you notice on top of it, it'll show you your gates relevant to where they are in the mechanism, if you will. This one has a reverse that's top left, so you're gonna kind of give it a little bit of effort and then it'll go in. It is much harder to do than the other gears, but every car is going to be a little different with the reverse, so be cognizant of that. Oh look, Callie Cat's calling me. Hi Callie, you can't see me, I'm filming a video. Now what are we going to do first? We got to start, right? What are we going to do? Key in the ignition. Every key is going to be a little different, but for Mini Cooper, you put it in. It's kind of weird. Push start, but before we do that, what do? Put the clutch in, right? Clutch is in. 3 pedals down there, and just note that your car probably won't have adorable little pedals like the Mini Cooper does, little surfboards. So, but the principle is still the same. So keys in, ready to start, and neutral, clutch in, boom, we're started. Now, before we can move, we still got to undo our e-brake, right? Boom, e-brake is disengaged, and we are ready to start moving. So what we gotta do first? We gotta go first gear, right? First gear, boom. Look at my feet, clutch is all the way in, right foot's on the brake. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start moving. Now, if you have trouble finding the catch position where the flywheel meets the clutch and you're kind of stalling it, a good way to do that is to watch your tack. Your little tack, when your flywheel is starting to engage with your clutch, it will start to bounce a little bit. And that's a good indicator that they're starting to meet, and that's a good spot to start giving your car a little bit of throttle. So let's go ahead and try that. This one doesn't really do that. Interesting. But majority of cars I've driven stick, you will see the needle bounce right when it's meeting the flywheel. Now, even without giving it gas, I'm in a very slight forward incline. The car is starting to move forward with no gas. It doesn't like it, but that's also a good indicator that you're ready to give it some gas. So, clutch is almost up. I'm giving it some throttle at the same time. And just like that, we're moving. Clutch is totally off, a little bit of throttle, and we're doing our thing. I'm gonna leave it in first gear here for a minute or two. Very, very slow maneuvering in first gear. All right, so I'm gonna stop right here in the middle. Clutch all the way in, brake, neutral, assuming we're at a red light or a stop sign. So now we gotta start again, right? So first gear, foot off the brake, let up on the clutch, at the same time giving it just a little bit of throttle. Find that little G spot, there it is, boom, and we're moving. All the way off the clutch, giving it some gas, boom, 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 we're going, we're going, we're going. And when you start doing this, the car is gonna go crazy because you're not gonna have the coordination down, so don't freak out. It's gonna buck and you're gonna stall it and all that stuff. It's no big deal, everyone does it. Okay. Now, we're gonna go first, second gear. Same thing, off the clutch, a little bit of throttle, we're moving, foot off the clutch completely, just on the gas now. We're gonna go up through the loop and we're gonna go to second gear. All right, we're about 2,000 RPM. Clutch in, second gear, same thing, boom. Even easier than first gear. All right, terrific. So that's a basic launching of your vehicle, very slow maneuvering. Now, while I'm still in a parking lot, I do want to go over reverse gear. Okay, so reverse, clutch in. Again, every car is going to be different. Look at your little gates. It'll show you where to go. This one is all the way over, a little bit of effort, and up is reverse. Now we can either use our mirror or turn around. And like I said previously, your foot's gonna stay on the clutch the entire time. It will not come off, just giving it a little bit of throttle. And just like that, you'll never go faster than this in reverse, and your foot will never leave the clutch pedal, and you're good. So don't stress reverse too much. Okay, now that we have basic maneuvering down, I'm gonna go on a slightly faster little circuit here outside of a parking lot. We'll do first through 5th gear probably, and I will show you other ways to downshift when coming to a stop sign or stop light respectively. I did explain earlier in the video, when you're starting and coming to a complete stop, I do recommend taking your foot off of the clutch completely and coasting to a stop using just your brake. Nothing wrong with doing that when you're getting started. The second way to do that is if you're coming to a stop up ahead, let's say you're in 4th gear and you're going to slowly start to come to a stop, you can downshift to 3rd. That is called engine braking. And then once you get closer, 2nd gear, this enables you in the instance where the light turns green up ahead or your traffic or anything in your way is out of the way, you can continue your speed without trying to shuffle for the right gear RPM. It just saves you some time and effort. And again, once you start driving enough, you'll do it without even thinking about it. So let's go for a little ride in some slightly faster conditions. And yeah, just pay attention to what I'm doing with the gear shift, and I'll explain my feet while I'm doing this. So here we go, we're off. Up on the clutch, a little bit of gas, and we're moving. Clutch in, I'm in 1st. Out with the clutch, a little bit of gas, and we're moving. All right, 2000, 2nd gear. 2500, 3rd gear. And again, we're not gonna go above 2500 RPM at all during this video. And when you're coasting at a lower speed, there's no reason to go all the way through your gears. You can keep it at 3rd gear, that's fine. I'm still in 3rd. Now I'm coming up to a stop, right? I can put it in 2nd, foot off the clutch, engine braking. At a complete stop, clutch in, brake, 1st gear, ready to go. Up on the clutch, a little bit of throttle, boom, we're moving. Clutch in, 2nd gear, boom, we're moving. We'll throw it in 3rd gear here. Clutch in, 3rd gear, we're rolling. The higher your gear, the much easier it is not to mess it up, if you will. Let's go ahead and go left here. A whole lot of traffic coming this way, no big deal, we'll wait it out. Man, a lot of traffic. All right, ready to go. Clutch in, 2nd gear. Coming to a stop, clutch in, neutral, brake, stop, ready to go. Back into 1st, clutch is still all the way in. All right. Up on the clutch, a little bit of gas, and we're cruising. Clutch in, 2nd gear, clutch back out. Clutch in, 3rd gear, coming to a stop. It's kind of close. I'm gonna put the clutch all the way in, neutral, and we're gonna wait it out. All right, here we go. Clutch in, 2nd. Still in 2nd. All right, clutch in, 3rd. Clutch in, 4th. Now we're just cruising around in 4th gear. Now let's say I'm in 5th gear, right? And I need to pass someone. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna downshift to 3rd gear. You ready? Clutch in, 3rd gear, a lot more torque, and then we're off. And then right back into 5th gear. Now if I were to floor it in 5th gear like this, nothing really happens. You're not in your torque band. All right, back into 4th. A little more torque here. All right, we got a stop coming up, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in 3rd. Letting the engine brake for us instead of using your brakes. At this point, I can put it in 2nd, but I know I'm gonna stop, so clutch in, neutral, and we're stopped. I think we're at a good stopping point for the practical portion of this, and I will do a little outro here with some anxieties you may have. Any questions you might have, please, please, please let me know if I missed anything that's vital to learning how to drive a standard. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out for you guys. We went for a fun little drive, got the basic understanding. You feel confident, but you're still a little worried. Understandable. There are some things that cause anxiety about driving a standard transmission. One of those being when you're at a stop and you're not too comfortable yet, you just learned, and you get people on your ass, slight incline. My best advice is take your time. There's no need to stall your car, get all flustered, roll backwards, hit the car. A lot of cars now do have hill assist. Well, it'll hold the brake for a couple seconds if you're on enough incline so you won't roll back. But just take your time. I remember when I was learning, probably my second week driving stick, I was probably 16 years old. I was coming out of a Applebee's restaurant, and there was an incline, and there was someone right on my ass, and it was a four-way stop. And I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And I remember them kept getting closer to me and closer to me, like trying to get me to hurry up. I could see their faces, like, what are you doing? I kind of panicked. I just dumped the clutch and just sped off like an idiot. It was either that or roll back. Those types of scenarios can happen. Driving a standard, don't let it scare you. You will get proficient the more you drive. Drive on a nice level surface as long as you can in a parking lot. When you feel really comfortable, start doing some slight inclines, 5 degree, 10 degree, 15 degree. When you have a 20 degree incline start mastered, like no rollback at all, you're good. You're officially a standard manual stick shift drive veteran. You're all set. Practice is key. And don't let the first time you try this deter you. I've tried teaching people in the past for like 10, 20 minutes. They totally couldn't get it. They got discouraged. They gave up. Other people that are determined, that really want to do it, I've been able to teach them in a couple hours, and they're golden. It's all about your mindset. If you really want to do it, if you really focus, you can do it. If you want to just kind of do it because you're kind of curious but kind of scared, and you try it once by experience, you're going to get caught in that fear cycle. You won't get over it. But if you want to learn, you can do it. Manuals are older than automatics. Outside the US, 45% of all vehicles are standard transmissions. I think the US is like 5% or probably lower than that, standard transmission, which is kind of funny. It's a great skill to have in any kind of situation or emergency. I highly recommend learning if you can. I'm teaching my wife stick in the very near future, my Mini. I'm kind of making this to show her. I think she can do it. She has a little anxiety about it. She's going to be just fine. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this and found this informative. If you feel that there's something I totally missed the mark on or totally messed up, let me know in the comments, and I'll make an amendment to this video or in the description. But I hope if someone out there watched this and they're on the fence or kind of scared, this kind of gave them the confidence to go out and do it. Another good thing about driving a manual is that they're much cheaper to work on typically, and buying one's typically cheaper too. And up until recently, they got better gas mileage as well, and they're more fun. To me, they're more fun. Well, alright guys, I hope you guys like this, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.